Jazz Today with Richie, Beirach and Scheuber.
Hey Richie!
Hey Chris!
Nice to meet you again.
How you doing, man?
Fine. Hey, you sent me amazing stuff yesterday.
For a change?
No. Really great. Didn't know it, actually.
Just me neither. Harry found some amazing links to a special concert in Greece, a VSOP 3. This is a special one, and I never even heard that.
But this was another thing. This was not VSOP 3. But this I didn't know too.
Right, okay. This one with Johan, Freddie Hubbard,
Bobby Hutcherson,
Tony, and Ron Carter. And it was recorded...
And
Freddie Hubbard. Yeah. And they were playing the Johansson tune.
And Harry, of course, yeah.
Recorded me. And what was amazing is that this is a very standard tune that is always for jam sessions. Right?
Yeah.
But it's perfect when you see the really greatest jazz musicians playing a simple song that everyone likes. It's like if Horowitz plays, when Horowitz plays the simplest things, it becomes very heavy. Tony is the essence of jazz. I was thinking about this when I was watching that. That's why I sent you. Jazz is about the drums. It's about the drums. Of course, can you have jazz without drums? Yes. I play in the duo with Lieb. I play in the duo with you. I play trio with Lieb. I play with George and Gregor in a trio. Is it jazz? Yes. But I'm talking about something else, and this is just my opinion. Real jazz. Not traditional, but real jazz has to have the drums, in my opinion.
And may I say, not only has to have the drums, it has the drums in a certain way.
Yes, in a certain way. I know, we're going to get into trouble. I don't care. Real jazz, contemporary jazz, needs to have a certain level of intensity and a certain feeling of forward motion in the rhythm and a sense of a groove with the bass player. Not everything has to be time, but to me, for me to really enjoy, I need to feel that group team thing around the time, around the form, and the intensity that you get when you're all playing off of a similar thing. And if you listen to Herbie with Ron Carter and somebody like, let's say, a good drummer, like even Billy Cobham, or I heard them once with, Victor Lewis, it's good. It can't not be good. But it's not really ideal. That's the word. It still has value. And I'm not putting those guys down. I know them. I play with them. But when you hear Tony, Jabali, Jack, Al, Elvin, that level, that high level, very few players, it brings to the music a certain intensity and clarity, and it makes it, to me, more valuable. And I love it, and it pulls me in. Mm. So just to make a definition of jazz, I mean,
what I realized when I listened to this, I think it's complementary to this what you were saying just. Bobby Hutcherson played a great solo.
Yes.
In his way.
Amazing.
Amazing solo on the vibraphone. Unbelievable, really. Johan, amazing solo. Freddie Hubbard, even amazing solo too. But who made the difference?
Tony.
Herbie.
Well, Herbie, yeah, of course. But
it was totally different. This is still another category. So I would say Herbie and Tony.
Yes.
I mean, this is so... He smiled to Freddie and didn't start at the beginning. Of course, he never starts at the beginning. But He took his time. He goes over this stop on the recorder me before the B part or the second part, and just played over it, continued his line. It was so amazing, and whatever he wanted,
and completely relaxed,
completely
and
relaxed.
makes it special.
Makes it special.
Look,
And this gives the space, and these guys are really. And I wanted to ask you. I remember once you have some categories of musicians. I mean, these are really geniuses.
we have many categories, but here's the ones that I know. We have students who can be very talented and interesting. On Monday and Tuesday, inconsistent. They're students, no experience. Then you have amateurs. Amateurs can be very good. They play at home. They could be even brilliant, but they get nervous in front of public or something. They're not consistent. Then you have professionals. Professionals always play well, competent, right changes, but not necessarily inspired. Then you have artists. Artists include everything, plus they have inspiration. And then you have, like, on two hands, geniuses.
Or innovators, as you said.
Innovators.
Probably.
Yeah. And, you have other categories. You have people that are good players that don't have a particular sound or individuality. Then you have real stylists, like Wynton Kelly, Red Garland, Hank Mobley, Dexter Gordon. These are stylists. And then you have very few innovators. Innovators, Charlie Parker, Dizzy, Monk, of course Herbie, Bill Evans. Innovators, Miles, Train, Elvin, McCoy, of course. So those are the levels, and my theory is that the more innovators you have playing together, the greater the music. Take out Herbie from that band. Take out Herbie and put in a good piano player. Kenny Barron. Me. Kenny Kirkland. We're all good. This is good. But Herbie and McCoy, it's another level of creativity. And Herbie makes Tony possible in a way because he's so loose and doesn't demand things. Doesn't make a frame.
Yeah. I realized the difference between the solo, the way of playing a solo, which I feel is very important as a drummer too, when you play with somebody because it affects a lot your way of playing, of course.
What do you look for as a drummer? What do you look for the most in a piano player? What do you need? What do you love?
In the piano player?
Yeah, in the piano. Then we'll talk about
This
the
is very
bass.
interesting. I think it changed a little bit. At the beginning, you wanted to play kind of big band stylish with. You were very happy if you did by accident the same comping as the musician you played with. Which, yeah, we had the same idea at the same time, like forehand, whatever it was. Somehow this was at the beginning.
When you were young, yeah.
Yeah, when we were young, yeah. I think, but this was good too, because then it was learning the language somehow. Yes. Then you wanted to, I would like to have it complementary, of course, or the opposite thing. And now it's great, whatever happens, I think. I was thinking about this too when I walking this morning with Naima. The traditional players which say we keeping the flame, which is great too in a way.
Yeah, of course.
But it's so clear and there is no surprise.
It's
what
too
I want,
clear.
as you two, I think.
Mystery, unknown.
Is the surprise. Something new, whatever it is, could be wrong. It's like nature or it's like life.
In nature, there are no straight lines. Do you ever see? There's no straight line. Everything is this or that. It's the way it is.
Yeah.
And in jazz
Water,
is...
cows. Here we are.
I'm looking for surprises from myself. Try to surprise myself. And I'm always looking for surprises from the people I play with. That's really another important part of the definition of modern jazz. Interaction.
Yeah.
Not just the time and the feel and the tune and the form. That's great too. Yeah, that's a foundation. That's what Tony and Herbie do. They're always adding things that are not there, that are not maybe even written down or able to talk about.
And Wayne?
Wayne is the exact, in my view, Wayne is the Herbie of the saxophone.
Yeah.
They're all. That's why that
think so
band was
too.
so extraordinary. And then you have very interesting Ron Carter, who is not a great soloist, who doesn't care about soloing, who loves to play in the ensemble as much as a soloist. And when you really think about that band with Herbie and Tony and Wayne, the things they did with the time, with the phrasing, with color, with changing from eighth note feel to rubato, like on Agitation, those things would never happen without Ron Carter. Never. And Ron's a genius too.
Yeah.
He's an ensemble genius.
Yeah.
He's his. Like when you think about a conductor, they don't really play anything. They lead the orchestra, but with a great conductor, you can pull the shit out of the orchestra in a different way, right? Ron was always like intensely thinking ahead and making it possible for Tony to play all of his crazy great shit. Herbie didn't lock in with Ron. Nobody locked in. Ron was the one who was the anchor, you know? Mm-hmm. When the ship is at sea, a big battleship, and the water is going like in a storm, they put the anchor in, and it keeps the things together.
But you have to be crazy hanging on the anchor all the time. You can shift with it.
Yeah.
That's a good example, I think, yeah.
It is a good example.
Yeah.
Made everything possible with Tony and Herbie. Because Tony and Herbie would play together a lot, especially at the beginning. In 64, by 65, and 66, and by 67, they were very much independent. Ron kept it together, kept it swinging, and the bass function in that Miles band, and Quest, and us, when to go into 4/4, when to break up the time, when to go rubato, following the flow of the music. That's what we like. That creates a surprise. And you must have a creative, sympathetic bass player to make that possible, in my opinion.
But maybe not too creative.
I know what you mean. You mean...
Because I wanted just to ask you, don't you think many bass players today doesn't like to play this kind of function because they're technically so advanced, of course. They know about they hear all the soloists and then they try to play it on the bass during the playing.
Very good.
Which makes me sometimes crazy, I'm sorry.
Me too. Bass players in general, in Charlie Parker era and even in the 50s, were not great technicians. And also the bass was not amplified so much. The bass was felt more. But when you had bass players like, for example, Paul Chambers and Mingus, those were the early bass players that had soloistic technique. They had fluency. But with Bill Evans and Scott LaFaro, there became serious linear interaction, like a, and that's okay. But a lot of bass players misunderstood that the function of the bass is still, in my opinion, to play the time with the drums when it comes up. If you're interacting, especially in the upper register of the bass, the feeling we get is the bottom drops out. Now, we don't want to be communists and say, you have to stay down there. But if the time is happening, and if the solos are going, and it's already into the time, if the bass player wants to comment, like somebody like Eddie Gomez or George Mraz, they want to. I mean, they have great chops too, and they want to comment on what's happening, but it screws up the time. Yeah. It screws up the flow of the time.
This reminds me another YouTube video you sent me yesterday, before, or the night before, I don't remember exactly. Amazing chicoria with Jack and Dave and Miles.
Oh, Agitation.
Yeah, Agitation.
1969.
Yeah.
Live in Copenhagen.
And Dave, live in Copenhagen. And Dave is playing okay, they break the time, they slow it down, but he's keeping all the time.
Unbelievable.
And Jack is playing so crazy stuff on it.
Against?
He's just totally against,
Yeah.
and he keeps going. And doesn't start
No.
to make some other crazy things too. That's
And
the
he
thing.
was only 20 years old then. They was very
He
mature.
looked very funny. Yeah.
He was very young, hippie, like a hippie, right?
Yeah.
That track, which I would like to talk about sometime and play it.
Yeah.
1969, Miles, Wayne, Chick Corea, electric piano, acoustic bass, Dave Holland, and Jack DeJohnette playing the tune Agitation. This, to me, that tune, if you could take one tune and get the essence of a band, like maybe Quest would be Pendulum, okay? It's something like that. In this tune, you see the essence of the brilliance of all these guys. The way the tempo starts out really fast and open, but swinging instantly and right on it. No easing in, no gentle thing, just bang. Miles often came out and played that as the first tune. Like, goes against all the rules. To start with a nice medium tempo, ease your way in, and then build up? No!
That's what he did before.
Yeah. They changed tempos. It's not a metric modulation. It's not halftime. Miles just starts another tempo slower, and in one bar, everybody's in it and adjusting. This creates a certain amazing feeling of emotional intensity. That's like, and it's swinging the whole time. Chick Corea is fantastic, accompanist, light and strong. And here's the other thing. The electric piano was a real pain in the ass when it first came out because it was very limited in terms of voicings, right? But the problems
On
of
voicings, why?
because the sound of the electric piano in this register is very
Yeah,
muddy.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
electronic. So the voicings have to be more like this instead of it's limiting.
Interesting, yeah.
But the advantage, and Miles knew this before Chick, the advantage is that without the problems of amplifying acoustic piano with the microphones and feedback and all that shit, the electric piano gave freedom for Jack. Gave freedom. So Jack was playing at a loud volume, but you could hear everything, and you could hear the bass. And it changed the whole band. Many times when I saw the Miles band with Herbie and Tony, no electric piano, it was all acoustic piano, and you couldn't hear so much so good, okay, in the early 60s.
What I realized on this track, actually, I mean, he's playing always very dynamic, Jack, Tony too.
Yeah.
But for me, for example, Tony plays more like in blocks.
That's right.
So he's playing softly or and then he's loud. He goes back. Now Jack is playing more constantly, dynamically. He goes down, but it's more like this.
Yes.
But in this track, especially 69,
Yeah.
he playing soft, and suddenly he's playing
Suddenly.
totally solo over behind Chick solo. It's even Chick. How can he do it? That he stay on this on his stuff. It's amazing, no?
To me, it's very exciting, and it makes the music have so much interest up
Yeah.
and down. I mean, one of the basic criticisms of bebop or hard bop is that the dynamic range is always pretty much the same. They go, ba-da-ba-ba, they're starting, and it stays that way, and maybe it gets a little hotter, but the dynamics is all the same.
Yeah, and
One
change the soloist to come down
solo,
maybe or whatever.
solo, head out.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
formula. It's great, right? But this music has dynamics all along the way, and sometimes Jack is not following the dynamics of the soloist, who is the Chick. He's just adding shit, and in the moment, like I was saying, I played with them. It's uncomfortable. Like all of a sudden, why are you playing that? And in the middle of a solo, all of a sudden it's going along, and Tony goes, blah, 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 blah. These gigantic triplets sounds like a atomic explosion.
Yeah.
So it's like this, but then when you hear it back, it adds to the intensity. And also, Jack sometimes is pushing. He wants to kick the ass of the soloist. And Chick, I spoke to Chick. At first he was very surprised, but he loves it. And then he couldn't play with anybody else. He couldn't play with anybody else in that way, because it was completely unpredictable. Unpredictable, but appropriate, but somehow right. Now, how does Jack do it? How does Tony do it? We talked about that yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't think Jack knows, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I wanted to ask you.
Let me ask you one thing before, because you played with Tony on this recording, Going Home with Chad.
Yes.
So, how was this situation? How did he play in this context? I mean, was he crazy like normal? I mean, I know this recording, but...
Yeah. The recording is called You Can't Go Home Again.
You Can't Go Home Again,
Chet
exactly,
Baker, it's 2 CD set, arrangements by Don Sebesky with a big band with Michael Brecker and Sko. And
you played electric piano, actually.
I played electric piano on that. But then there was another session on another day. The producer, John Snyder, said, Richie, you play with Chet all the time. Says, do you have some tunes that you want to play in a quartet with Tony and Ron? Yes. Yes. Now, I never played with Tony before, ever. Or Ron Carter. I played with Chet every day. And I wrote Leaving, and I wrote Broken Wing for Chet, and Leaving, we played it every night. I was very close to Chet, and he was like my father for a while. He was having problems with drugs, but he sounded great, amazingly great, and he was a very important influence in my life. Anyway, so now we get into the studio.
Back to this theme once.
Sorry.
I think, yeah. No, it's okay.
So we're in the studio with Tony and Ron, and we're doing Paradox, right? And we're burning out. Chet wants to do it fast. So we started, and what's it like to play with Tony and Ron? It's like being on the fastest, safest roller coaster. When you're in a roller coaster, you feel like you're going to... But this was because Tony plays with you. And his left hand, Tony's left hand, was totally with my comping. And once, but then, in between, there were these explosions. These things that were off the beat, that were over the bar. And I had to just... Lee was telling me, he said, listen, you're going to play with Tony in a small group. He said, don't listen to him so much. Trust yourself. Listen to Ron. Don't get thrown off, because that's the thing.
Yeah.
And I did. I was nervous. I wasn't scared. I was excited. I wanted to do well. And it worked out really good.